An Iris Celebration, a presentation of the Bennington Historical Society. The Bennington Historical Society and the Flower Posse have joined efforts to bring back Sass Irises to the Bennington community. The story started back in the early 1900s on the Sass farm, which was located just south of Bennington. Two brothers, Hans and Jacob Sass, became interested in growing flowers for their mother. Little did they realize their name and accomplishments would become world renowned in the flower community. The history of the iris is quite interesting and old. The name comes from Greek mythology. Iris was the goddess of the rainbow and a messenger to the gods. The iris is the Tennessee state flower. It's the February birth flower, and it's used for medicinal purposes and in perfumes. The Sass brothers were two of the world's greatest plant breeders, at least from this part of the country. Jacob and Hans immigrated with their parents from Germany in 1884. As children, they enjoyed growing flowers for their mother, and their interest grew and blossomed with some remarkable breeding discoveries. They worked very closely together and bred peonies, daylilies, lilacs, gladiolas, lilies, and other garden plants. However, they were world renowned for their irises. They registered over 300 different varieties of irises. 4 of those won the prestigious International Dykes Memorial Award. 2 of Hans's irises won the Dykes Medal. Ramsey's won it in 1932, and Prairie Sunset in 1943. Likewise, 2 of Jacob Sass's irises won the Dykes Medal, the Red Douglas in 1941, and Ola Kala in 1948. Hans was the first to introduce true reblooming cultivars, the tall bearded Autumn King and the intermediate bearded Autumn Queen in 1926. Hans and Jacob's contribution was so pronounced that the American Iris Society created the Hans and Jacob Sass Medal for intermediate bearded irises in 1960. The Sass Iris project was started by the Bennington Historical Society, initially under the leadership of Lyle Sass. He acquired Sass irises from several sources, including unknown varieties from the Douglas County Historical Society that were taken from their gardens at the Omaha campus. The unknown irises were planted in 2013 on the off-farm. Since then, other varieties have been donated to the project by other growers. The off-farms already had Matterhorn and Black Douglas irises. The unknown types were planted in rows and marked according to groups taken from the Fort Omaha garden. The results were spectacular in 2015. Plans were set into motion to develop 2 propagation beds in Bennington, each holding 60 different varieties. The first propagation bed was developed next to the museum on Main Street, and the second on a street island in the intersection of Molly and Stark Streets in Bennington. The first year, roughly 10% of the plants bloomed, but by the second year, we had an explosion of color. The following photographs were taken by D. Kretze and Gordon Mueller. The Flower Posse is involved in several other projects. This year they expanded the museum garden to include ferns and hostas. 2 years ago, the group reconditioned 4 old metal window frames to be used as raised flower beds. Members paired up and adopted a theme and a flower bed. That approach resulted in a community herb garden, a bed comprising of native prairie flowers, a conventional flower bed, and one containing the Sass's 4 dyke metal winners. Another cooperative project between the Historical Society and Flower Posse is our Farm Heritage Program. Our goal is to celebrate and remember our agricultural heritage through the use of antique farm equipment and flowers. The first project was to use an old farm wagon as a flower piece. The goal is to add other pieces of antique equipment as sponsors are found. The members planted a wagon load of flag petunias and other decorative plants and grasses. Consider joining the Bennington Historical Society and/or the Flower Posse. The Historical Society meets the first Wednesday of every month at the Community Center in Bennington at 6:30. The Flower Posse meets the second Wednesday of each month at 6:30, either at the city office or the community room. Both are fun-loving groups, and they appreciate field trips, special lunches, and guest speakers. Lots of laughs and fun while beautifying and learning about the history of Bennington. Special thanks goes to Alan Dahlstead, Ginger McGook, Diane Warwick, Ruth and Bob Zaruba, Jan and Bob McKelvey, John Bohr, Deanne Zen, Jan Andreessen, Dee Chrissy, Lyle Sass, and Linda and Gordon Mueller. Activities have been funded through private donations and a grant from the Bennington Community Foundation. This presentation was created and narrated by Gordon Mueller and friends.